Let's talk about the Jews. This is a very hot topic right now, especially with the Gaza issue. And I was always very, very, what's the word? I've always admired Jewish people. And I've admired them for their achievements as a nation. Like the number of Nobel Prize winners in physics and all those other categories that have been Jewish is astonishing given their population size. They they apparently I've heard it say that Ashkenazi Jews have the highest average IQ as a population, right? And it's like a standard deviation more than the average, which would mean that I didn't know my gap. It seems like my gap is getting bigger, and it seems like though they have gone through so much and have persevered the most out of every group. Now, as an African, we've gone through colonialism and slavery and all those other nonsense that has happened, but we haven't done very well as a people as of now. But the Jewish people have been so resilient and have been so admirable in their achievements that I've always had enormous respect for them. Now, they, in the past couple of years, especially with the Gaza issue, I've had to do my research because I couldn't understand why the Palestinians were fighting so much against the Jewish people, right? The Israelis. And I'm like, okay, there's something I don't know here. And there's something I need to dig deep because this doesn't make sense. And I need to know more about this issue. So I started reading up on the Palestinian issue. And I read up a lot about the history. I read about the pogroms in Europe, being evicted out of, I don't know, over 100 countries. And I was flabbergasted by the anti Semitism that seems ingrained, particularly with the white population against them. And I'm like, why are they hated so much, right? This doesn't make sense. You can't just hate the people. And this happens throughout the world, by the way. Even in Africa, the Rwandan genocide was a result of people hating the others because of perceived success, of perceived, there was an animosity generated by group achievement, you know, and perceived power imbalances. So the Jewish situation is very interesting because this is because of so-called Jewish supremacy. Some people think the Jews think they're better than others, so they keep to themselves, they don't assimilate to other cultures, and they connive. So they network very well, and only they use their power and influence to subjugate others or to push themselves up. This is the general consensus among anti-Semitic people. And the more I dig into this situation, the more confused I get because I'm like, is this really human? This kind of hate is seems unwarranted. And then other people show me uh, text from the Talmud, the Jewish religious text, which has some very questionable verses which need to be digged into. And still, that doesn't help me to understand the level of hatred that they have. Now, on the Palestinian issue, I lean more towards the Palestinian people. Why? Because there are people who were there for thousands of years, and then the nation of Israel was formed because of a Jewish alliance with the colonial power that was in charge of that area, which was the Palestinian Mandate. So the Jewish alliance negotiated favorable terms for them, and they ended up with more land than the majority population of Palestine. Now, the argument can be made that the Jewish people have a biblical right to to Palestine, and they were the original occupiers of the land like 2,000 years ago. But that just complicates the situation. Now we have to set a time frame and look at it in modern lens, and that in itself creates the conundrum whereby we now have a population which is roughly the same size occupying a small piece of land. And what is needed is basically a two-state solution. You need to divide the land, give it to the other side, and give it to the other side, and live in peace. That's it. Of course, the Palestinian people, a lot of the extreme parts of them, they don't want to agree to that, and that won't make sense. If I was, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you have to cut your losses, and in order for peace to reign. Now, I'm no political scientist, and I could be wrong in many of these things. But what puzzles me the most is the hatred for the Jews, and it's kind of like it has been ingrained in the genes, maybe over the hundreds of years, because there's been so much suspicion for people who are operating differently than you, that that's even now with all the social media, with the access to knowledge and information that we have, people don't want to dig deep into their hatred and understand, why am I actually doing this? Okay, here's what I think. Jewish people are very good at networking. They are exceptional at the networking. And genetically, they could have been natural selection for intelligence, because the smartest people lived on and survived, while the people who were not so smart and not so tactical in avoiding being captured in the pogroms and the Holocaust, they died off, unfortunately. So we have a population of survivors. And if you get a population of people who know how to survive and know how to network, well, and know the power of money, because money is a huge fuel for innovation, for survival. If you don't have money, you don't survive in this world. So if you get those people and you group it, those people are going to be successful, and you, with your idiotic conspiracy reading mind, are going to be left looking for the simplest solution to what you are seeing. So now to nitpick and say, okay, we have this guy who is Jewish, who was found conniving or doing something sneaky, and say all Jewish people are like that, that's simplistic thinking. And obviously, it doesn't, the world doesn't work like that. It's like seeing a gangster, a black gangster, and thinking all black people are violent and have low impulse, until you meet another one who is a professor at Harvard. So this is just stupid thinking when people are doing this hateful stuff. And unfortunately, what is happening in Gaza is not helping the Jewish cause. because the amount of the the number of babies who are being beamed onto the screens across the world who have been blown up by Israeli bombs, the number of people suffering and starving in Palestine because of the big boot of the IDF is doing zero. It has no advantage for the Jewish cause. It is actually doing immense damage, and it's actually the one that lessened my respect for the Jewish people, because for many years I was like, hell no, these people are good. You can't blame people for being high achievers. But now I'm like, hell, what the hell? You can't just be bombing people. There has to be, if you are the bigger power, there has to be a limit to the amount of force that you are applying to a population, especially if you are vastly stronger than them. And you can't just collectively punish everyone, because you can't just have immense collateral damage and say this is war and push it on the under the guise of war. It's not going to work, especially with phones and cameras everywhere. So I hope it stops, and with the ceasefire in place, hopefully it works. But there's so many right-wing elements which are too extreme in the Israeli government that I doubt. Maybe it will, maybe it won't.